New England Patriots are releasing Antonio Brown. We appreciate the hard work of many people over the past 11 days, but we feel that it is best to move in a different direction at this time. And as previously mentioned, I told you Antonio Brown took to social media to vent his frustrations or just to get some things off of his chest. He said, "Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate Patriots." He also had another one. "Love you, champ. That was fun. Go win it. Do it for me." Of course, making reference to Tom Brady. So with that being said, let's welcome in our NFL Network media insider, Ian Rappaport, with the very latest rap sheet. What more can you tell us about the situation that unfolded today right off of Interstate 95?
Yeah, this is one that was building for the New England Patriots and for Antonio Brown ever since late last night when Sports Illustrated came out with the text messages that Antonio Brown had sent a second accuser, someone who had accused him of making unwanted sexual advances. Antonio Brown essentially asked the people on the text message to dig up dirt on this accuser. I was able to confirm that it was Antonio Brown on the text. Her lawyers, the second accuser's lawyers, reached out to the NFL and asked that Antonio Brown basically stop sending these text messages. And at that point, it was pretty clear that the Patriots were starting to do some additional homework on Antonio Brown when Bill Belichick said at his press conference today to have some more questions to answer. This was, one of the things he was discussing. They went through the day. He was still on the roster. He went through practice. His status with the league did not change. And then the Patriots decided to change it for him, officially informing Antonio Brown that he was no longer a member of the team. He said goodbye on Twitter. A source confirmed a couple seconds after that he was, in fact, out. And now, once again, he is over. His tenure is over with the Patriots.
Rap, just one game into week 3, and Antonio Brown has already been released by not one but 2 teams. So what's next for the embattled wide receiver?
Well, the Patriots were willing to take a shot at him. I know that's you take a shot on him, and you have to really wonder if 2 things could happen. One, could the league put him on the commissioner's exempt list now? Is there enough now to? He wouldn't need to be because he doesn't have a roster spot. But would the league basically consider him to be that? And then the other thing is if Bill Belichick has decided that it is no longer worth the risk, what does this mean for other teams? Would anyone actually be willing to give him a roster spot? That remains to be seen, but certainly far-fetched at this point.
Well, Ian, if Antonio Brown is indeed put on the commissioner's exempt list, what does this really mean for the rest of him and the remainder of 2019?
It puts it all in doubt, and that's one thing. That I think at some point, he was in good enough standing in the NFL that the Patriots, that he certainly had suitors, and the Patriots were able to give him a job, and was making up to $15 million, and then you get released by the Patriots, and there are things that the Patriots can do that other teams do not believe they're able to do. Signing a receiver like Antonio Brown is one of them. And if the Patriots are out, then are the other teams out too? The other question is, what happens to his money? He got a $9 million signing bonus. $5 million of that is due during this season. The first payment was due to be made Monday. What actually happens to his money is an open question going forward for Antonio Brown.
Now, Rap, there's no doubt that there were some incriminating messages that were sent from Antonio Brown to one of the accusers. But if he is cleared of this, because we all know that in America you are innocent until proven guilty, what does 2020 hold for him potentially?
Yeah, that's a long way away, and there's a lot of things that have to happen before Antonio Brown's status in 2020 is something that is discussed and a relevant issue. I think the main thing right now is just to figure out what happens with this civil lawsuit, and are there additional legal issues for Antonio Brown? We've seen now not one but 2 accusers, not one but 2 accusers step forward. That's obviously something that we have been monitoring. It's a civil situation at this point. The Allegheny County DA is not able to go after Antonio Brown criminally. We will see what those in Florida decide to do. There's still a lot out there for Antonio Brown to figure out his status for this year. Forget about him as a football player, but just Antonio Brown as a person.
Antonio Brown's status for 2019 and 2020 hanging in the balance, but one thing is for sure, he has been released today by the New England Patriots. Ian Rappaport with the very latest rap sheet. As always, thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Yep.
Now we turn our attention to Judy Battista, but first we'll bring you this Antonio Brown tweet. And as he says, the marathon continues. So apparently 2019 of marathon-type proportions for Antonio Brown. And like I said, now we bring in Judy Battista with the very latest on this. And Judy, we'd like to have you weigh in as far as the league is concerned. Where's the league stand right now as far as Antonio Brown and his release from the Patriots is concerned?
Well, look, the league was already starting its investigation. That started in earnest on Monday when they talked to the woman who made the first accusation, the rape accusation. Last week, they did not put him on the commissioner's exempt list because they were very wary of doing that based just on a civil case. It's pretty easy to bring a civil case. It's not the same as being criminally charged, so the league just did not want to go down that road and set that precedent. They were continuing to investigate it, and then certainly, when that story broke from Sports Illustrated late last night, early this morning, that certainly seemed to be another bit of evidence that this was a continuing issue and that they might have to do something. But here we are. They did not have to do it. The Patriots took it out of their hands. I think there was certainly some thought around the league yesterday that they hoped that the Patriots would do something before the league had to step in.
Now, Judy, we just saw a tweet from Antonio Brown that says the marathon continues, and we just spoke with Rap Sheet and he said there is the potential that AB is placed on the commissioner's exemption list. So what are the actual chances that AB will be placed on that exemption list and not see the remainder of 2019?
Well, the league can do that at any time if they feel like they have enough reason to put them on the exempt list. Now, obviously, the time urgency does not exist as much as it did before because he's not on a roster right now, right? There was urgency when he was on a roster. Now I think the league can maybe take a little time, as long as he's not signed immediately by another team, can take a little time, gather all the information, and then make the decision to put him on the commissioner's exempt list. The commissioner's exempt list means he can't play. If he were on a roster and under contract, he could be paid. It's basically a paid leave. Now that he's not on a roster and not with a team, he would not be paid, and he would also not be eligible, to play. And the fact of the matter is that can then basically knock him out for the entire season because they presumably would leave him on the commissioner's exempt list until an investigation is completed. And that, as we've seen in the past in the NFL, that could take months. So that could knock out the entire season.
Judy, if you're one of the remaining 30 NFL teams right now, what are the parameters as far as being able to acquire the services of Antonio Brown with Week 3 already underway?
Well, look, he's a free agent. I mean, you could sign him if you want to take that chance. Although I got to tell you, when the Patriots signed him, now almost 2 weeks ago after his release from Oakland, when you talk to people around the league, they basically said, if he can't make it work under Bill Belichick and with Tom Brady there and with the clear opportunity to win a Super Bowl, how is it going to work anywhere else? I mean, that sends a big red flag to the rest of the league, even more than the red flags raised by his release from, his trade from Pittsburgh and his release from Oakland. This is a major red flag. If you can't make it work in New England, where they've made it work with other guys who've had problems before, they win continuously. They have the infrastructure to support players like this. If it can't work there, can it work anywhere? Is anybody going to be able to take on this risk? There aren't many coaches who have as much stature as Bill Belichick does to take on this kind of risk.
Judy, well, despite the media circus, despite the red flags, do you believe that there is a team out there who is willing to roll the dice and say, hey, let's bring Antonio Brown in no matter what's going on right now?
My guess is that teams might wait right now to see what the league does in terms of putting him on the commissioner's exempt list. If he goes on the commissioner's exempt list, he's useless to a team. Mm-hmm. So I would think that now teams will wait a bit and see what the league's next step is.
Yeah, not only would they like to not bring in that media circus and red flag, they'd also not want to pay Antonio Brown the remainder of what is owed to him for 2019. Judy Battista with the very latest on what's going on with Antonio Brown and his release from the New England Patriots. Thank you, Judy.